The image that you're seeing on the screen, Why We Want You to Be Rich, is a book written by Donald Trump and Robert Kiyosaki, the two gentlemen you see on the front of the cover. I don't care how you feel about these two guys personally. I don't care how you feel about these two guys and their personalities. They know how to earn money. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Increasing our income, diversifying our income. And in this book, these two guys made fortunes, large fortunes in real estate. So yeah, they're going to talk from a position of doing business in the real estate industry. However, they're going to give you a lot of alternatives to earn some income outside of real estate. They're going to talk about in this book the need for you to increase your income. Because let's face it, in today's economy, it's hard to make it on what they're paying you nowadays. I don't care what you're earning. Because if you make $50,000 or you make $100,000, you don't live in the same place as a person that makes $25,000. I mean, we can be honest about it. And so I'll have people tell me, even after watching this, money's not my thing. And I'll ask them, where do you go every day about 8 o'clock? I go to work. Well, why are you going to work since money's not your thing? And I mean, a few weeks ago, my baby sister came in. She had to work over in San Antonio. She lives out of town, and she rode the bus over to Houston and asked me to pick her up from the bus station. And I left home to get caught in traffic. And I was calling to leave her a message to tell her I thought I was going to be late picking her up. But her bus was coming in from San Antonio, and they got caught in traffic on I-10 here in Houston. And I think it added almost another 30 minutes to her ride into the bus station, so she was almost 30 minutes late. So I actually beat her to the bus station, but it was full of traffic, and that's the point I was trying to make. Last week I had to go to court, and I had to be there for 9 o'clock. And I don't like to rush in at the last minute. So I left home at 7:30 in the morning. And I live about 10 miles from downtown Houston. And I mean, traffic was bumper to bumper. I mean, if we were able to do 20 miles an hour, we were doing good. And so my wife is in the car with me, and she asking, how do people do this every day? And she said, and then they work all day for anywhere from 8 to 10, 11 hours, and then they're tired and stressed out. Now they have to get back in it and drive home. And it's because of that thing some of them say they're not interested in, called money. And you have to ask yourself, if you look at the history of your profession, how does the future look? Remember a few years ago we had the dot-com boom, and then it went to dot-com bust. Here recently the CEO of General Motors was in China telling them about the new manufacturing operation they're going to open up in China. Now, the problem I have with something like that is the government, during the two bailouts, gave General Motors money both times. And we keep hearing our government officials talk about finding ways and needs to put people back to work. Now, if the government gave General Motors billions of dollars both times so they wouldn't go under, when General Motors went to China to say they were going to open plants in China to provide jobs for the Chinese, the government officials should have stepped in and said, no, homie, it don't work like that. We gave you money from the American taxpayer. You're going to create jobs in America. But do you hear our government officials saying anything about that? No, they're silent. So if the government's not going to look out for you and your family, and the corporations are not going to look out for you and your family, there's only one option left, and that's you, the person looking back in the mirror. Now, I'm not saying all corporations are bad. I'm just using General Motors as an example. But you hear our government officials talk about all the time how these corporations are moving operations overseas so they can get cheaper labor. But they want to impose all of this other stuff on everybody else. But that's a whole nother topic. for another day, another time. But you have to ask yourself, are they really serving our best interests? And unfortunately, in today's economy, our job income doesn't keep up with inflation and taxes. And just me personally, I think inflation is just put there to keep us from making it financially. Now, I've had people tell me they don't have time to look at ways to increase or diversify their income. Yet these same people right now, I'm pretty sure tonight the the NCAA basketball championship comes on between UConn and whoever won that other game the other night. Today's April 7th, 2014. I don't even know who won the second game. And after the night is over with, our NBA teams have pretty much received all of their playoff seeds. So for the next 2 months, April and May, they're going to be battling it out, and that's going to occupy people's time. And that's going to go through the NBA Finals through the first couple of weeks of June. And soon after the NBA Finals are over, you're going to hear everybody talking about NFL preseason is here. I can't wait for the regular season to start. And so that's going to take up your time all the way through the month of December before the playoffs start for the NFL. And in the month of November, NBA comes back around because nobody's really watching baseball and hockey as much anymore. But before we even get to the full onslaught of NFL season, we have the high school football and college football. And NBA playoffs start in December, go through January, then it culminates with the Super Bowl in February. Right after that, you have the All-Star game, which is the halfway point of the NBA, which is when most people start paying attention to the NBA. And it's a full vicious cycle. And we have people that say they don't have time to look at something to better the situation for them and their family, but they got time to watch all of these events. I mean, if it's that important to you, record it on your DVR and watch it later. Just tell people, don't tell you who won the game, even though it makes for better watching if you know the score beforehand. And so if they're not doing that, they're caught up in all these reality TV shows. And everything that we're occupying our free time with is spent watching other people work. Now you have to ask yourself, with these same people that you pay all these dollars to go see, if you see them live or you watch them on TV, would these same people sit down and watch you work where you work? Now we know the answer to that. So if the answer is no, why are you spending so much time giving them credibility? In order to gain freedom and control of our lives, we're going to have to learn how to control money and stop letting money control us. You know, a lot of times we can't do things because of the money situation, and it's not because of the abundance of it. It's almost always a lack of it. I remember working for one company in retail. I spent a large portion of my life working in retail. And certain times of the year, we were not allowed, did you hear what I said? Not allowed to take vacation. Now, my wife works in the school system, so the summers are free. Well, in retail, because I worked for a company that was big on back to school, I couldn't take vacation in the months of June, July, and August. And because this company also was real big during tax season, I couldn't take vacation from the day after Thanksgiving all the way through February. Now, if you think about all that, those are all the times my wife is off work. And so we're still being controlled by money because somebody else is paying us. So we're going to have to learn how to control money. As youngsters, we normally have huge dreams. And once we get out of college and we work a few years, you know, maybe have a kid or two, get married, you know, life is beat up on us a little bit and we forget about those dreams. And normally our dream circle is huge. Let's say our dream circle is 100%. The problem is our income circle is about 25%. So instead of figuring out ways to increase our income circle, we turn around and figure out a way to decrease our dream circle. And that's normally what happens when life beats up on you. As I mentioned earlier, we watch TV, and a person who doesn't have a vision places a lot of value on the television. A person who gets informed can learn how to make intelligent decisions. Like I said, if the TV is that important to you, if the TV show is that important to you, record it on your DVR for later recording. Ask yourself, how are you dealing with this economy? I heard a guy say years ago, when your neighbor loses his job, it's a recession. When you lose your job, it's a depression. And so we don't wish that on anybody. We need to do what it takes to improve our financial situation. The only way we're going to increase our knowledge, we have to start associating with people who have greater knowledge than we do. I know for me personally, I think I have some big dreams, and then I'll meet somebody and just listen to them talk, and I realize, man, I'm not dreaming big enough. Just like we learn to walk as toddlers, we learn to tie our shoes, we learn to read, we learn to eat, feed ourselves, we learn to drive, we can learn to become wealthy. It just comes with an awareness and a knowledge of changing some things. The question is, do you have the desire or the want to do better financially? If money didn't control your choices daily, tomorrow morning, what would you get up and do? What would you spend the whole day doing if you had no money worries? What would you do the next day? If you knew you created an income that was going to produce the same amount of income whether you did anything or not each month thereafter, what would you spend the next 30 days doing? Unfortunately, or fortunately, it just depends on how you look at it. Where you spend your time is where you spend your life. And, as I mentioned, I worked for a district manager who had been divorced about 3 times because he worked all the time. He had no time for his families. And when you have no time for your families, the opposing spouse says, why are we married if he's never here or she's never here? Because they're working all the time. So we have to ask ourselves those type of questions. So do you want to spend all your time married to the job? Just something to think about. The people who excel in this economy, in this society, are highly motivated. I think there's a movie called The Backup Plan. Do you have a financial backup plan? We buy homeowners insurance. We buy health insurance. We buy life insurance. Now we have pet insurance. Now, the question is, do you have any income insurance? All broke people who say they are self-motivated, all broke people say they are self-motivated. And rich people say they need other rich people to motivate them. I can't motivate myself all the time. I need some outside help. When we're doing the right things and they're not working, we're either doing it in the wrong place or we're doing it with the wrong people. Is what you're doing taking you away from what you want or what you say you want? Ask yourself this question. Just think about it. What amount of money on a monthly basis would give you some more choices on top of what you're already earning? And what I mean by that is, look at what you earn each month on your job. Now just write a check to yourself for an amount of money that would take the pressure off. Maybe a couple of $100, maybe $500, maybe $1,000, maybe a couple of $1,000 on top of what you're already earning right now. What kind of choices would you be able to make then? Would that take a little pressure off? Would you be able to afford maybe private school for your kids if they're in public school? Because a lot of this stuff I'm hearing about what they're teaching in public school now, it's not too good. When we don't have reasons to do things, we won't find a sufficient motivation to do it. Ask yourself, what is important to you? If all of your debt was paid off, how much money could go to your bottom line each month? Now, if we're having trouble paying off the debt with the current income we're making, that means we're never going to get ahead of that debt cycle. We're going to keep being behind. And interest, unfortunately, is going to eat up anything, a large chunk of what you're paying if you're paying installment debt. Isn't it amazing that you can go get credit and they charge you 18 to 25% interest, but if you put your money in any type of savings portfolio, they'll turn around and pay you a 1.5% interest? Is the game rigged in your favor? If what you are doing is not taking you where you want it to go, unfortunately, I hate to tell you this, it's wasted activity. Are you in life where you want to be? None of us should ever get to a point where we're satisfied where we are. So if you can say you're in life where you want to be, you're already dead. You're just waiting on the body to catch up with the mind, like Benjamin Franklin said. Do you have a vision for your life to make it better? Do you have a vision for your life to make it better for your spouse and your children and your children's children? Once again, if you take your paycheck and lay it on the table and take a $3,000 check and lay it next to that check, what kind of impact would that extra money have on your lifestyle? You have to remove the blame. If you're playing a part of a victim, the whole time of your life, the whole aspect of your life is spent blaming somebody else instead of the person in the mirror. If you've lost your fire, get around somebody and pour gasoline on yourself. Get around somebody with matches and pour gasoline on yourself. Fortunately or unfortunately, who we are is who we attract. If you're a pretty decent person, upwardly mobile, you tend to attract those people. If you know good, no account for anything, you normally attract those people. Stop looking at the past. If we're driving our car, our rearview mirror is in the car for a reason, but it's not there for us to keep focusing on the rearview mirror. The rearview mirror is attached to a windshield. The windshield is about 100 times larger than the rearview mirror. The rearview mirror is to assist you as you move forward or move to another lane. So if you keep looking in your rearview mirror while you're driving, eventually you're gonna have a crash. Now, when you seek to do something better, you can't be like a wet piece of spaghetti, because you can't push a wet piece of spaghetti. But if you reach out your hand, somebody can pull you up and pull you forward. Fear and ignorance is what holds people back from attempting anything that could be greater. A lot of times people won't exchange a good life for a great life. Unfortunately, a lot of people want to do nothing and succeed than even attempt something and fail at it. In 2 years from today, where will you be if you keep doing what you have done the past 2 years? Have you ever noticed that your income increases but your lifestyle never changes? Once again, it's because of inflation. Inflation is designed to keep you broke. You get a raise, but everything else increases along with that raise.